forecasting, when you are ready with the forecast, when you go to your management, this is my future forecast. So the next step, the very next step is to understand your processes. What is processes? We will discuss in a while. The next step says that the moment you forecast something, the moment you have predicted something, that my future sales will be this much, or my customers engagement will be this much, or this much customers will be coming to my store, or this much customers will I'll be serving as a service, or this much customers will be coming to my flights, to airports, etc. Then the very important next step is to understand the processes that are involved. Processes means if you want to cater that forecast, if you want to cover that forecast, if you wish to cover customers' expectations, you want to maintain quality, you want to maintain flexibility, you want timely production, production, on time services, and if you want to reduce costs, unnecessary costs that are involved in any process. So you need to have your strategy for processes. Processes is nothing but they are the patterns of decisions. Service industry के लिए the process strategy will be a bit of different, and manufacturing industry के लिए the process strategy will be different, because in services the processes involve customer contact. The processes have different opinions. For example, अगर मैं बैंक की बात करूं, बैंक के अंदर customer involvement will be very high as compared to manufacturing of let's suppose a cold drink. A customer will consume the cold drink, but customer will not go and look into the process how the cold drink is manufactured. So in that case, or let's suppose medicine, if you are more you want to consume the medicine as per the problem that you have, as compared to go into the manufacturing process, how the medicine, has been manufactured. So somehow you need to understand that whatever the processes are involved, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's services, you need to have proper strategy for that. Let's suppose your prediction says that in the coming year, the customers of XYZ bank will double in number. Means the bank is performing well and the customers will be double in number. So what strategy will follow? Whatever the processes you are doing in your bank, you need to smoothen the processes. You need to make the process more smooth, so that the average time the customer have in a particular bank should reduce, and so that more number of customers can be catered. Similarly, for example, if you believe that I'm talking about service industry only as of now, if you know that in airline industry, if you believe that a holiday season is coming and people will be going towards for holidays, and for example from Delhi to, let's say, Dubai, these flights will be, the customers to this route will be more. That you have forecasted. You have forecasted looking at the pattern, looking at the seasonality data, looking at the cyclical processes, looking at whatever trend line projections you have. Once you predict that on this route more and more customers will follow, then you will make these processes designed so that you can accommodate more and more customers, because more customers means more profit. And accommodating more customers does not mean that you will compromise on the quality. You have to focus on the quality as well, maintenance of the quality. So that is why process strategy becomes more and more important the moment you forecast, whether you focus on a higher end or you focus on a lower end. For example, if you forecast that in the coming year, the overall sales will be half or reduced, so you have an option to use your sales force somewhere else, and you can maintain the processes, reduce the process, etc., as per the requirement. Whether you talk about manufacturing, if you're manufacturing anything, or you talk about services, if you are providing services to a consumer, in any case, this strategy is very helpful in maintaining the quality, flexibility, time, and cost parameters of the organization. So, when you talk about processes, anything which is actually, the process is nothing but a pattern of decisions. A process is nothing but a pattern of decisions made in managing processes so that the processes will achieve the completed priorities. How a work can be done, how a job should be performed. For example, if you are in a manufacturing organization or a service industry, how that particular job needs to be done. For example, a customer enters a bank, your customer enters an airport, or customers enters anywhere else. How will the customer will be treated? What would be the layout? What would be the step-by-step process the customer will follow? You may find the difference between the this process strategy when you talk about a private bank or a public bank. You will definitely feel the difference. Why? Because the process strategy of private bank is completely different when it's compared to a public bank. So no manufacturing or service exists without a process, and no process can exist without being a part of manufacturing or a service organization. So you need to understand that the strategy here, I mean, that whatever the processes are there which are helpful in doing the job, completing the job, or giving the service to the customer, whether the process are efficient enough to give the desired results. Whatever the processes are these processes giving you the desired results? If the processes are giving you the desired results, then the processes are good. But sometimes you cannot focus on every aspect of the product, every aspect of the process. In that case, you have different options. We will discuss these options in a while. Whether, let's for example, if you are manufacturing cars or motorbikes, if you have some car or a motorbike, or your friend or your father have some cars and motorbikes, you can easily differentiate that the engine is actually manufactured by the company. Otherwise, majority of parts are outsourced. Outsourced means you procure these parts from outside. Let's suppose tires, C8 tire, or Bridgestone, etc. These are examples of manufacturing companies who are manufacturing tires only. Car manufacturers, what they do, they outsource these particular parts from those companies who are actually involved in making such products. Because those companies that are manufacturing only tires will have different capabilities, will have more quality concerns. They have more cost effective operations as compared to a car company opening making this operation in house. Means a car company will not manufacture tires in house. A car company, what they do, they only manufacture engines, majority of car companies, and few parts. And what they do, they outsource different parts. And from outsourcing different parts, what they do, they actually combine, and then they combine to form a vehicle, a car or a bike. They procure, for example, they can procure batteries from someone else. batteries for Amaron or Excite, etc. Because these companies are manufacturing these products in a better way. These processes are followed in that company in a better way as compared to a company starting this process in house, a car company, for example. So you need to understand that your process strategy is very important. Whether you should outsource a particular product, outsourcing means procuring from an outside organization, or whether you are manufacturing that particular product in house, or you should redesign the process. Whatever technology you are using, that may be old technology, you may want to replace that technology with a new technology. You may want artificially intelligent systems. The today what we are witnessing is the advancement of artificial intelligence. The AI machines, whether you will be going to for that AI machines, or whether you will be automatic machines, or whether you will be following the old age or labor intensive machines. It highly depends upon how you are actually looking at your process. It also depends upon the very first step that we have taken, forecasting. Whether how much good is our forecast. Our forecast says that there will be a tremendous increase of demand in the next coming year. So you may require your processes to overhaul. You may require the processes to be better, efficient, to become more efficient, to have more automation, so that you may be able to cater that demand. So that is why process strategy is very important for a manager to understand what processes have been followed. And process strategy, as I have told you, is a pattern of decisions. What decisions we should make so that whatever we are trying to achieve can be achieved. If I am manufacturing a bottle, and I am expecting that my bottling plant can manufacture 1,000 bottles in an hour, and if that particular plant is not able to manufacture that, there is some problem in the process. Or, for example, you may require a demand which requires 3,000 bottles in an hour. So what should be my strategy? Whether I should stay with 1,000 bottles in an hour and improve that particular process, and after improvement of that particular process, what is the maximum efficiency that I can achieve? If, for example, the demand is 3,000 bottles for an hour in the coming future, and your plant is only 1,000 bottles in an hour, you can have different technologies now. You can add more bottling plants. You may add more processes. If you are adding some processes, you are actually incurring some costs. So you need to be very careful. Depending upon the better the forecast is, you may be able to actually invest in those processes. So that is why understanding this process strategy is very important. So the process strategy basically speaks about how can a work or a job is actually performed. And if the performance is not up to the mark, then it should be redesigned. We need to change that. We need to improve that. And the managers, actually operations managers' job mostly is keep an improvement in all the existing processes. Why is it so? Because you need to reduce the cost, you need to improve the efficiency, and you need to actually make the process work as per the requirement. So you need to be very clear about your process strategy. And of course, when I talk about product, the process strategy will be different. When I talk about services, the project strategy will be different. Why? We will be discussing in a while. There are two types of customers: internal customers and external customers. Many organizations believe that the employees that are working with the organization or the suppliers which are supplying to the organization, or those people who are outsourcing with the organization, these are internal customers. These customers actually help the company in completing the process, so that the external customers, the consumers of the particular product or a service, may use that particular product or a service for their use. So designing this process is important, keeping in mind both the internal customers as well as the external customers, so that your process, whatever the process you are following to convert the raw material into the output or a product, it can be useful for you, or it can be useful for both internal as well as the external customers. So that is why process strategy is very important when you talk about process. Let me throw some light on the processes, let's say, of a supply chain. When you talk about supply chain, outsourcing, warehousing, sourcing, customer service, logistics, cross-docking, these are few examples of a supply chain process. When you talk about a supply chain, you need to procure raw material from outside. That raw material is known as outsourcing. In the example of a car manufacturing firm, if you are procuring or procuring tires from outside, you are outsourcing tires, because if you start manufacturing tires in house, it may not be very useful for you. It may involve more cost and more resource involvement. So what you do, whosoever is actually manufacturing tires, you go and outsource these tires from them. So this is one of the important process, outsourcing. From whom to outsource? Who are the players? You have different players in tire industry, for example. You need to outsource these particular, whatever the best outsourcing policy should be, you need to follow that, so that your overall cost can be reduced. In a service firm, for example, a bank will not have a printing press in-house. Bank will outsource that particular job to a printing press. For example, printing of checks, printing of drafts, paperwork, etc. All this should be outsourced by bank. You may not find a printing press inside a bank. They will only go and they will only ask for, if you want checks to be delivered to you, they only go and tell the outsourcing firm that these checks need to be delivered to a particular customer, and that is provided by that firm to the particular bank. So this is a process of outsourcing. Warehousing. When you procure a raw material, for example, for a manufacturing process, you need to store that particular raw material somewhere, or not even raw material, the work in progress inventories or finished products. All these needs to be stored somewhere. So if you talk about the example of a car manufacturing firm, they have a lot of space for yard. They have a long and wide yards in which the manufactured car can be stored, because they need space for that. They need space for half-built products, as we know as work in progress inventory, or they need space for raw materials inventory. They need space for finished product inventory, so that it can be stored in a location which is actually safe, secure, and it can be used as and when required. So it is very important for the supply chain process to have a right warehousing processes. Process here, I mean, how will a raw material enter into the factory, whether it will be entering through a truck, it will be entering through a train, etc. Once they entered, what are the packaging? How you will pick the raw material and place it on a warehousing? What should be the process? Whether I should use labor or whether I should use battery operated vehicles to move my product from one place to another, raw material from one place to another, and that raw material should be placed more closer to the to the process, means to the machines, so that the time should be reduced, the time of taking the raw material and putting that raw material into the process or machine, it should be minimum. So your warehouse should be close to the machines or close to the processes. Once the process has been manufactured or the process has been completed and the product has been manufactured, then where should I keep my inventory which has been produced, which is complete? It should be near to the transport region where you can have packaging in process. You can have, once the packaging can be done, that packaging can be loaded to the trucks or to trains, and it can be shifted. So all this thing should be kept in mind, and this process is very important when we talk about supply chain. uh, because unfortunately I was not able to log in through Google, so I request you all, if the meeting ends abruptly, you all are requested to kindly join in using the same link. Okay? Again, I'm reiterating, if the meeting ends abruptly, you all are requested to kindly log in using the same link. Anyways,
Okay.
similarly, sourcing, customer service, logistics, cross-docking, all these are processes of a supply chain, and each and every process needs focus of the manager so that the process can run smooth, process can go smooth, so that overall cost can be reduced. You have different functions, you are in a business organization, and these are the functions, these are the processes that you may encounter in every organization, I must say. Costing, employee development, payroll development, asset management, employee training, engineering, sales, help desks, environment, finance, security, employee compensation, employee benefits. All these are processes. And all these processes need to be focused upon using some process strategy. So all these processes will be useful for the organization, and all these processes need to be optimized so that the overall cost can be reduced. And that can only be done if your strategy is good, if your strategy is okay, if your strategy is actually performing as per the expectation. So these are the examples of processes. So when I talk about process strategy, uh, different processes have been followed in an organization. There are four basic process decisions that need to be taken care of. That to design a process or to formulate a strategy, you need to be very much sure that such decisions should be followed. Four decisions should be followed. The first is the process structure. Second is customer involvement. Third is resource flexibility. And the fourth is capital intensity. If you are designing a strategy for your process, these are the four basic decisions included in the process. These four important basic process decisions help you in designing your strategy. Whether my strategy is good enough or should I make changes to my strategy. Whether the output is coming as per my expectation, or changing one of this basic process will actually make my strategy useful and my processes more efficient. The number one, and this will be process structure. But how the whole structure of the organization, how the process structure is being organized. For example, when I go to a bank, you may feel a different type of a structure, or if I go to a retail store, you may find completely different type of a structure. If I go to a kirana local shop, you may find a different structure. If I go to a supermarket, you may find a different structure. So your decisions for a process structure is actually very important, because you want to improve the process decision making. You want to improve the efficiency of your processes. So if I go to a bank, let's suppose private and a public bank, you may find this structure completely different. If you go to a private bank, it will be a more open space. The customer can roam around freely, or the customer may sit down close to the process. The customer may be more involved as compared to a public sector bank. So similarly, a retail store or a supermarket will have different customer involvement. A kirana store will have different customer involvement as compared to a supermarket. A bus stop will have a different structure as compared to a train station. So why I'm giving you these examples? Because these examples will help you understand. If you imagine this structure in your mind, you may find different structures, different types of processes being followed. The services might be same of kirana store and a supermarket, but the processes is completely different. And now we are looking at hypermarkets. We are looking at artificially intelligent supermarket retail stores. Amazon is actually into this field from 2017, and they have launched a supermarket concept known as Amazon Go, in which you just have to have Amazon app in your mobile phone and you have balance in your wallet. You don't have to go and stand in queue online. I will show you the video in the coming classes. Sorry. And that particular video shows that a customer can go into the shop, pick the product of their choice, and come outside. They don't have to stand in a queue. The moment they pick, the moment they pass through the store, the amount is automatically deducted from the Amazon wallet. So this is the concept of Amazon Go. Those who are interested may go to YouTube and search for Amazon Go. So for that, the process structure will be completely different. Now you have AI operated mechanisms, you have RFIDs, radio frequency identification techniques. You don't have that much labor intensity on the front desks. You have labor intensity on the back desks. Front and back desk क्या होते हैं थोड़ी देर में हम discuss करेंगे. So that is why process structure is very important. The types of process actually defines your structure and the type of business you are in. Yes, any question? Someone is opening his mic or mic. Anyways, if you don't have any question, I request you to mute. So the process structures defines the structure that is actually required to complete the particular process. Then comes the customer involvement. How much extent of participation of a customer should be there? How much customer should be involved? If I have a particular process which requires a high level of customer involvement, then my process, my structure will be different as compared to those processes where the customer involvement need not to be there. So let me give you this example. If you go to a restaurant, you may face that you have a set standards of dishes, and based on those set standards of dishes or standard dishes, you have to order from them. You may have a very little variety. You may add spices or less spices. You may have 1/2 options or half option, etc. But the standard, the product is same and the services offered will be same. Although the customer has been involved, the customer is the end part of the product. But when you go to open kitchens, open kitchen means the kitchens are open. You may wish whatever you wish, that will be actually being given to you or cooked for you. The customer involvement will be very high. Similarly, in banking industry, the customer involvement is limited to a particular location. a particular processes, and other processes are standardized. So you need to be very much sure how much customer should be involved. You cannot involve the customer 100% because each and every customer have different needs. So for if you want to cater each and every customer, especially, that means you try to customize your product. For example, let me give it with an example. If you hire a carpenter, and if you want to that carpenter to manufacture or to build a wardrobe for you, that will be your 100% involvement. Why? Because you will be doing whatever you wish, whatever the partitions you wish, whatever the the quality of the material you wish,